We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming, and this is MPC Presents the Blk Grrrl Show for December 18th. This is actually going to be our last show for the year. Not forever. We're coming back on January 3rd. But today we are going to have an exciting show. We're going to have Stephen J. Brooks pretty much, the whole time. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a Stephen J. Brooks show. But before that, we are going to do the Breaking the Table, which we do every single week. All right. This one's called Respectable Women. Feminism is equal access. 80% of women over 30 have children. Having a child is a norm for women. When you say women who have children shouldn't get the same access as women who don't have children, what you're actually saying is women shouldn't have equal access. If you're only granting personhood to the exception and not the rule, then you're not granting personhood. What is equal access? Equal access is equal pay for work. Equal pay for work. Not pay that is valued only if men can do it and then only if big men can do it. Child care workers get paid less than cops and fire personnel, yet they are required to have more education to qualify for the job. Women who stay at home aren't paid to do that work because women in the U.S. are not valued. So what we do is not valued. Without children, there is no more humanity. Equal access is making allowances for the normal biological function of childbirth and raising children, and universal child care is part of that. The solution isn't to get more women to not have children, because statistically it isn't having children that determines your poverty. It's if you are married to a man or not that determines your poverty level. The solution isn't to get more women firefighting. The solution is not to get child care workers paid. The solutions are to get child care workers pay up to the level of fire personnel and cops. Feminism shouldn't mean if you can do what a 200-pound man can do and do it with a lower voice, because apparently women's voices are also holding us back. Only then should you be allowed to be a complete human being, kind of. The access we should be fighting for is access for what women do. We often talk about respectability politics when it has to do with race, but what about gender? There is an idea that in order for women to be equal, they must have invisible children, have conversations like our male counterparts, and be strong, because women are apparently weak, but not too strong, because apparently too strong is bitchy for women. We must be kind of strong, child-free, 5 degrees, not too ugly, and not too pretty, because too pretty is unprofessional. And if you're a woman in this patriarchal system, what you look like will be talked about. And not engage in uptalk or trivial things. And trivial things are simply things that men don't talk about. And then, only then, we shall be allowed the privilege to be equal. Only then can we be the right kind of woman. Not formally educated women aren't the right kind of women. Women with children aren't the right kind of women. Women not married to men aren't the right kind of women. Women who talk too loudly aren't the right kind of women. Women who talk too softly aren't the right kind of women. And if we are working class, we need to be able to lift 100 pounds and do that every day for 20 years and with a happy face. And then, only then, maybe we'll be granted personhood. As a black person, as black people, we need to have a higher standard than don't kill me, and women need to have a higher standard than don't rape me. Women, and black women in particular, because of our children, our boys and girls, are hurt more than almost all other groups owing to the U.S. respectable, right kind of woman standards that are placed on women in the U.S. Many people like to use the argument that population control will fix this. No, that's not true. What causes more pollution and destroys the planet the most aren't places with lots of people. It's places with few people but the most junk. Consumerism is destroying this planet, not women having children. The population problem is just some oppressive nonsense that some idiot man said. That was Breaking the Table, so we'll be back in a moment.
To Aisha Miller, I wrote you a song. I still can't figure just what you did wrong. You were 19 years old with your whole life ahead, and with 23 bullets, 4 cops shot you dead. Yeah, you sat in your car and
Hello, we're back. Before we talk to Stephen, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some issues that are impacting some women today. As you know, they are loosening. United States is loosening its grip on Cuba in regards to its relations. It's kind of thawing out, but that's kind of making people a little bit nervous about Assata Shakur. In 1973, Shakur was arrested during a traffic stop on the New Jersey Turnpike. A shootout left Assata injured with multiple wounds, the driver, Zad Shakur, dead, and a state trooper dead. In 1977, after numerous trials, she was convicted of first-degree murder, and in 1979, Shakur escaped and fled to Cuba, where Fidel Castro granted her asylum. So right now, what they're trying to do, what a lot of people are doing, is actually circulating a petition so that she can be pardoned, because a lot of people are worried that now that our relationship with Cuba is getting a little bit better, that possibly they might bring Shakur back to the United States and make her face prison time, and we don't want that to happen because, as we know, she was falsely charged. Angela Davis said in The Guardian, Assata was falsely charged on numerous occasions in the United States during the early 1970s and vilified by the media. And so that was in a recent article by Angela Davis. Another thing that happened, and this is kind of, I don't know if you want to call it good news or bad news, but the internet, there was a hashtag going on called I Am Jada. Jada was a 16-year-old girl that was sexually assaulted on camera, and it was videotaped, and they sent it around the internet. Well, she got a lawyer, and the people who actually sent that videotape around are now being charged. So that's a good thing in regards to that. I Am Jada. So possibly we'll have a good outcome in regards to that. Another thing that's happening is this is just horrible. Because my dad is from Mobile, Alabama. I followed this case of Hawaii Robinson. She was 8 years old. They found her behind her building, murdered. Apparently, they are saying that her 38-year-old father, is apparently being charged with her murder and the rape of this 8-year-old little girl. So we will see what happens with that. That is just a tragic, that's something that's horrible. So right now we're going to open up the line and see if we have any callers that have any comments regarding feminism or regarding these recent cases that are going on. If we get some information, but if not, we're going to go to our guests. So the lines are open, because I think that it's very important that we talk about these issues. It's very important that we talk about what's going on currently, in addition to what went on in the past, in order for us to fix these kinds of things that happen to people in the United States, and it's happened to women into the United States, because Black women do matter. And that's kind of why I bring up these topics all the time. At Beyond Baroque, Pam Ward is going to actually have a poetry reading called I Didn't Survive Slavery for This. And Pam Ward actually has a poetry book. She actually was one of my guests here. And she kind of talked about, the one thing I think is great about Pam Ward's anthology, I Didn't Survive Slavery for This, is that she talks about not only the challenges that women have faced, but she talks about people who actually overcame those challenges. But keep in mind, even if an individual can overcome a challenge, it does not mean that, we don't need to fix it, because that's it. We can't be using the exceptional standard all the time. So that will be it in regards to our little news updates. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Stephen.
I should have stayed at Margie's where the people are friendly, where the music is warm and the beer is cold.
Okay. All right. We're back with Stephen J. Brooks. Stephen J. Brooks is from Boston, Massachusetts. He went to the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. He worked in public access TV, web development, visual effects. You also worked in the .com or the .bomb, the first edition, right?
The first edition of the .com world. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's horrible. And you are a computer generated imagery artist.
Yep, for the most part. Mm-hmm.
For the most part. I'm going to ask you exactly what that is so you can explain to everyone, because I kind of know what it is, but I want everybody else to know what it is. So since I always ask our guests a local question, especially you non-local people.
All right.
What is your favorite coffee shop in Los Angeles?
Oh, you didn't tell me it was in Los Angeles before.
Yeah, it has to be Los Angeles.
Oh, no, because I was going to say the Coffee Connection, which hasn't existed in 20 years. Because Starbucks crushed them.
Well, where's the Coffee Connection?
That was in Boston, and Starbucks crushed them. It was it was over 20 years ago. Uh-huh.
Starbucks crushed everybody.
Yes, they did. And Coffee Connection was one of the first. Back when Starbucks only had 300 stores, they decided that Boston was the next place they were going to take. And they came into Boston, and every corner that didn't have a coffee shop had a Starbucks. And after a while, all the corners that used to have coffee shops, the Starbucks moved into those because those were the better corners because they put the other ones out of business. I mean, you know how it goes.
No, I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
But with Coffee Connection, they were a chain of like 30, and they were going to fight. And actually, they did the good fight with Starbucks for about 4 months. And
4 months? 4 whole months?
Well, then after the 4 months, they said, "Okay, we surrender." And I mean, both of them were bleeding. You know, Starbucks was small then. They only had 300 stores. They were fighting against a chain that had 30 stores, almost 30 stores that were really well entrenched. But eventually, Starbucks won.
But don't you have a coffee shop here?
I like really a lot here, a coffee shop. Gee, no, I haven't really settled on one. I used to love Doughboy's Dozens, but that was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, they still exist, right? That's in downtown, correct?
I have no idea whether they still exist or not. I don't. I would hope so. I don't think so. No, they were in Leimert Park.
Oh, they were. Oh, yeah, you're right.
And I met Doughboy a couple of times, but he took his life.
Yes. I remember.
7 or 8 years ago.
Yes.
And I'm not an actor.
Yes.
And that was an actors-based coffee shop, so I would only go in there every once in a while or for the big events.
Okay.
And the big events just don't seem to have been happening, so I guess the coffee shop isn't there anymore.
No, I think you're right. I was confusing with another place, but yeah, I think you're correct, especially when you told me about the owner. Yes, I'm pretty sure that store does not exist. But yeah, well, you know.
So I'm going to find a coffee shop now to love in downtown. Let's try and make it someplace other than downtown LA.
All of our coffee shops have died. So
I think so has our connection on the internet.
The connection on the internet? I don't think our connection has died on the internet.
Oh, I'm buzzing like crazy in my ears.
You're buzzing like crazy crazy? Okay. Hold on. Oh no, it's fine. We can hear. Okay.
Okay. Look,
it's just us. It's not.
It's just us.
It's just us. So in regards to, you're from Boston. And Boston, it has a kind of an interesting racial history.
Oh, boy, does it ever.
Can you want to compare the racial dynamics of Boston and the racial dynamics of Los Angeles?
Okay. So I've been out here in Los Angeles since 2001. Mm-hmm. And when I came out here, it was quite a shock. First and foremost, with the exception, and now that I've been out here for, 13 years now? Mm-hmm. I've found the places where there aren't any Mexicans.
Yeah.
Because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. And I say that's not a horrible thing.
Yeah.
It's just a real surprise coming from Boston because everyone has their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right. Here, I guess the Mexicans are hidden in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And what's that place up where KDRW is? Santa Barbara, they don't have any.
Yeah.
But other than that, until you get down near Mexico and Orange County, that community is just sort of part of everything. And I come from Boston where, I used to live in a part of Cambridge, which was the Portuguese-speaking neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I lived in the Portuguese-speaking neighborhood because my girlfriend had a Portuguese surname.
Mm-hmm.
And if I walked 1.5 blocks, literally across the railroad tracks,
Yeah.
I was in the Italian neighborhood. And those two neighborhoods went really well together because they're both very Catholic. And so they could share a lot of the same, you know, everything from the churches
Yeah.
to the video store.
Yeah.
All right. You know, and it worked okay. But it most obviously was, you know, these neighborhoods are segregated by race, by ethnicity. I worked in South Boston for a while.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And everyone's heard about South Boston. And I got to say, when I first went to work there as a computer teacher in the community center, I remember the night I walked up for my interview, and it's dark by that time because it was like at 6 at night in the winter. And I come up to this elementary school, and I immediately recognize it and remember it because when I was a kid, I used to see on TV white people throwing rocks at black kids getting off of buses at that school because it was during the forced busing time.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, 25 years later, as much as the neighborhood was still pretty much Irish,
Yeah.
it definitely was not the same. It definitely was not the same. There was no one yelling at me. There's no one yelling at the black kids who were coming to the school. There were actually a few Asians who even owned property in the neighborhood. It was amazing. But still, things are, I mean, it's still very much, you live over here and you live over there and you live over there. And at the edges where you meet, there'll be a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think one thing about Los Angeles is that when I see a neighborhood that isn't diverse or does not have Latinos, I always think like, what's wrong with it? Like like how much of an effort you had to make that happen where it's so exclusionary, you know, because just because, like you said, because of where Los Angeles is, I kind of almost judge you in a negative light. If I don't see Latinos, I'm like, you must have done something. What did you do to make this happen? Because I kind of think like this neighborhood must be a racist neighborhood, because I know that, you know, just because of the population and how it works out, you have to make a true effort to make that happen. I think that even like, you know, we'll talk about the art scene later, but how, you know, so Los Angeles to you it's not as segregated as...
Oh, it's so much more integrated in every respect. In every respect, it is so much more integrated. The way that it's not just Boston. I got to tell you, New England, New York, Philadelphia. You know, when you're talking about the whole Northeast, the segregation is still very much what it was in a lot of respects. Well, I mean, obviously there are neighborhoods that gentrify and change, but things are still very much more segregated than they are here in Southern California. It is, sometimes I can understand, especially with new immigrant communities, because you want to try and build enough momentum that you can have a store that actually stocks the food you like.
Yeah.
All right. At the same time, no. And maybe it's better now, but it really was in lots of places of Boston. What's your surname?
Yeah.
Oh, McCarthy. Oh, you get to live in South Boston. Oh, it's Santos. Oh, there's a neighborhood in Cambridge for you, because that's Portuguese.
Yeah.
All right. And it doesn't matter what kind of Portuguese. Now, that was one fun thing. It didn't matter what kind of Portuguese my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It could be Cape Verdean. It could be Portuguese. It could be Brazilian. As long as you spoke Portuguese, that's what counted.
I guess you can't get picky when your numbers are so small.
One of the other things which is really sort of interesting about Massachusetts is that no. Spanish is not, or at least it used to not really be especially when I was growing up, it used to not really be a language that was around that much. But Portuguese was.
Oh, okay.
Portuguese was. There's a lot of, because Massachusetts has a lot of fishing, which is a very Portuguese, and when I say that, Portuguese and Cape Verdean occupation, there were a lot of people, especially around the Cape in Massachusetts, who immigrated from either Portugal or from Cape Verde. In Boston, so I was saying Cambridge, right across the river, the Portuguese-speaking neighborhood was much bigger than the Spanish-speaking neighborhood on that side of the river. The truth is, Portugal's sort of closer in a lot of respects than Spain is to Boston. And a lot of other things. It's really funny. Oh, no, you'll like this. You wanted to find out about how different it is in Boston?
Yeah.
So if you're in Boston and you want to try and racially profile the guy walking down the street as an illegal immigrant, he looks like Jack Donaghy. He looks like an Irishman, because that is the most illegal immigrants in Boston are Irish. And if he doesn't look like an Irishman, he looks Italian, because the second most illegal immigrants in Boston are Italians, and both of it's because it's really close by the boat.
Yeah.
It's really close by the boat. You hop on the boat, you hide. A few days, you're across. Boston's the first major port.
Okay. So, yeah. Also, too, in Los Angeles, we say undocumented immigrant.
Yes. I'm sorry. I know. Actually, I should be saying that, too. I fought for that so hard. That's not the word you use in Boston. Yes. Out here in Los Angeles, the people are undocumented immigrants. In Boston, they're still illegal aliens.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. I think when I meet people from the East Coast, they do use. I'm not saying that was. But I'm saying they use
I remember in
slurs.
the 90s how it was a big push to change it from illegal aliens, which is a pretty horrendous term.
Yeah.
To undocumented immigrants.
But people on the East Coast still use racial slurs, though, to refer to people.
Well, yeah, but people still use racial slurs to refer to people everywhere.
But I mean, it's really open about it there. I'm kind of shocked. I believe the East Coast.
I guess you haven't been to the South then.
Yeah.
People use racial slurs just to carry on a conversation.
I know. I'm so Los Angeles. I'm so sheltered. I don't even know these things are happening.
No, I know you know they're happening.
Well, I do know they're happening, but not on this. I think that a lot of times you actually know it has changed in Los Angeles because of just the dynamics. I think Obama really kind of made people really show their behinds, because before that, growing up in Los Angeles, you've had these lot of racism in theory. I mean, other than the LAPD. The LAPD has always been racist and horrible. But like just the general population, you just weren't running into stuff. But you're running into more of that kind of stuff now. But I think a lot of people from the East Coast have moved out here.
Well, yeah, and the truth is, wasn't it you who was saying, I was actually in a room where there was only Angelinos the other day? I'm forgetting who it was. One of the sportscasters out here used to say, I can't really root for the home team that much because more than half the people who are listening are not from home.
Yeah.
In LA.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's try to get into your art. Now that we've heard about your background history.
You heard about Boston. Okay.
We're about Boston, and
I will say one other thing about Boston.
Okay.
Boston is got to be the best major city in the country for women.
Boston. Like, what do you mean?
In other words, when you remember how you opened the show?
Yeah.
Boston has got to be the best major city in the country for women.
Okay.
And the reason why is because there, the most important industry is education.
Yeah.
There are 750,000 plus kids who come to Boston every year with daddy's checkbook and no supervision so they can get a college education.
Yeah.
And it is and in part because education is such a female-dominated field, and because it's a field which also has women. So many women have been shoved into.
Yeah.
Boston's a really great place for women because there's so much education. There's so much opportunity in the educational world for work.
Yes.
That it is. And
their unions are strong too, right?
No, unions aren't strong anywhere anymore.
Well, I'm just saying, are they stronger in Boston than they are in LA?
No, they aren't.
Okay.
No, they aren't, especially when you're talking about things like the major business being education. College professors aren't unionized.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But the truth is, compared to being out here where a woman is judged by what she looks like,
yeah.
it is a huge difference. It
Yeah.
is a huge difference.
Oh, you get to be 20 forever.
Out here, it's really a push.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I first came out here. I mean, I'm from Boston.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from Boston, where you look outside your window if you live in a college student neighborhood. It's like a midnight on a Saturday night, and you see all these nice young women walking by.
Yeah.
You think that things would be, you think you'd seen, quote, perfection, unquote. I came out here, oh my God.
Yeah.
No, what plastic surgery and ultra skincare and all of that. It's ridiculous.
Well, the thing
It's
that's so
ridiculous.
great about you and getting your perspective is because you have been here a while, but you got here after 2000, which to me, that's kind of like in my head, the cutoff, like of knowing the new LA and the old LA. If you got here after 2000, you kind of don't know the same Los Angeles that I know, but
No,
you get
I don't.
you get a whole different perspective. And I get to hear like what people are seeing in regards to how they look at Los Angeles, because it's hard for me to look at Los Angeles how it actually is, because I'm thinking about how it was. And even though I was around and I experienced the change, I'm still kind of in shock that it's so different. And it actually so different than the town I grew up in, which was kind of like a smaller town. It seems like Los Angeles is a bigger town.
And Los Angeles is a much bigger town. When you were growing up,
Yeah.
which I don't know how long ago that was, but when I was growing up,
Yeah.
the second city in America was not Los Angeles. It
Yeah.
was Chicago.
No, I don't think I ever. Yeah.
You notice, you know how Chicago calls itself the second city,
Yeah.
because until about 20 or 25 years ago, it was the second largest city in the country.
Yeah.
And Los Angeles has only surpassed it
Recently.
in our lifetime.
Okay, so this is not
Yeah.
a recent thing. I always thought Los Angeles was second.
Oh no, Los Angeles was not second. Los Angeles was not second when we became angry at Cuba. Chicago was huge compared to Los Angeles. Los Angeles really has grown from almost nothing in the past 100 years.
That's amazing. That's good to know. But like I said, my perspective is a little bit off. But you know what we're gonna do?
Sure.
We're gonna take a little bit of a break, and then we're gonna talk about
About
your
my art.
Talk
Okay.
about your art. Talk about your art. So
All right.
this is MPC presents the Blk Grrrl Show on LA Talk Live, and you can not witness, but you can see us on Live 365, iTunes, R&B, and the LA Talk Live website. So see you in a bit.
All the toys were out in black and the boys had too. She started ahead of it, never ended. Every Mexican they gave her a lot of shit. Every homosexual in the idol red. She had to get out, get out, get out, get out.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey everybody, it's your man Sabir Bey back on your airwaves, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Sabir Bey Show, discussing history, law, and hip-hop. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sabir Bey Show, exclusively on latalklive.com. You also can catch us on iTunes Radio and R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Randy Franklin inviting you to join me every Thursday at 5 p.m. for my show, Probable Cause. Join me while I dissect current events, talk about laws, and answer your law enforcement questions. So don't forget to tune in to Probable Cause every Thursday at 5 p.m. exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, and AHA Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. I am Randy Franklin, and this is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hello, this is Chica Lark Fleming with MPC presents the Black Girl Show. And we are back with Stephen J. Brooks. But before we go back to him, I want to remind you guys to check out Pam Ward's I Didn't Survive Slavery for This at Beyond Baroque at, what is it, 8 o'clock? Yeah, 8 o'clock. It's in Venice, Beyond Baroque, and that's tomorrow on Friday. So check that out. I'm sure it's going to be a great show. So now we're back with Stephen J. Brooks, and we're going to start off with, what is a computer-generated imagery artist?
Okay, that is a really great catch-all term for people who use computers to make images. And one of the reasons why they sort of want to call it that is because it lets you be a little less specific as to how it's done. And I do it a lot of different ways. Lately, I've been using Instagram a lot. I love Instagram. And I just got the new download with the 5 new filters today, which I haven't even tried the new filters yet because I've been working on other stuff. Let's see, before that, what did I do? I've been a 3D animator.
Yeah.
So you know how, I mean, for me, okay, almost all of my work in Hollywood has been photorealistic, okay? So in other words, people would come up to me and go, there weren't any special effects in that movie. And I'd be like, well, yeah, there were. You can't shoot arrows at actors. If they die, you get in trouble. You know, the explosion might not be anything more than just a cannon hit on something as opposed to a real bomb. But, hey, you know, you can't shoot cannonballs at people anymore.
Why?
Why? Because it's really because these stars are worth way too much money, and the insurance on it will be too crazy. And
Yeah.
Akira Kurosawa
Yeah.
in the 50s,
Yeah.
he would just have someone stand right off camera, an archer, and the person who's going to be shot would have a big board underneath his costume, and he would just shoot him with the arrow. All right, while the film rolled. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because people get hurt. So now all that's fake.
Yeah.
All that's fake. So I do a lot of So I've done a lot of photorealistic like that.
Okay.
So let's see. Other than that, I've worked on a few animated movies as well.
Is that why you moved to? Is that why you moved out to Los
Yeah,
Angeles?
this is well.
How'd you get there? You just
how
skipped
did I get to Los Angeles? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been working backwards.
Yeah. Yes.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
So I was in Boston, and I was working during the .com 1.0, you know, Web 1.0.
.bomb.
And .bomb, when the
where I lost
.com
my-
bubble burst, when
Yeah.
you lost what, everything?
I lost my first husband to the .bomb.
Oh no!
Yeah. He economically exploded.
Okay, I can believe that. I can believe that. The only reason I didn't economically explode was because I had a girlfriend who didn't want to have fun. So instead of spending all my extra money during the time I was making money during .com, you know, having a lot of fun,
Yeah.
I would be just like, oh, look, I got money, and there's another, you know, mortgage slip due. It isn't due for 3 months, but I've got the money now. So I
Yeah.
was so far ahead
Yeah.
on my mortgage when the .com bubble finally burst for me that I got like 6 months to gather my stuff.
You weren't
and-
doing yacht lessons?
No. Oh no, I was painting my condo so that people would want to buy it instead of it having gold walls.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I bought it with the gold walls. And that's one of the reasons why I knew I had to paint them, because I was able to get a really good discount because
Yeah.
the artist who had been in my condo before me had decided, oh, the walls should be gold. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I left them once I bought the place until I had to move out.
Exactly.
But okay, so before, when I was in Boston, I was doing internet, so a ton of different things, a lot of Flash animation, a lot of Photoshop, a lot of Adobe Illustrator, and then, you know, I used to really pursue in Boston being a cartoonist. It's in some ways a much, well, for someone who isn't that good at being a cartoonist, which I'm not that good, it's not a bad city to be in for that. It's not like Los Angeles. Well, first of all, things were different. just like before 2000,
Yeah.
back when it was still the analog days.
Yes.
Doing cartoons and having them printed into booklets and magazines was a great thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist anymore. And yes, I know it still exists, but not really.
Yeah.
In Boston, it was a college town.
Mm-hmm.
College students love comics, especially comics which are either about real life or about being some stupid college student. So,
Yeah.
it was a great place for me as someone who wasn't as good as the good cartoonist to be able to still do it and be able to participate. I feel very fortunate that I was in an environment to do that where I could swim with the big fish, or no, I shouldn't say swim with the big fish because they weren't big fish at the time. A couple of them are now. But swim with the fish who would eventually get big and not get eaten.
Yeah.
But for me being a cartoonist, that was because that was what I liked to do. That was because I have a bunch of characters, and I'm a better artist as a photographer. I'm a better artist as a videographer. I'm a better artist as an animator. If you really want me to do something that looks nice, that's good, you probably want me to do those things and not draw paper dolls.
But I love your paper dolls though. I mean, how'd you start? Because since you're not going to tell me how you got to LA.
Okay. I told you how I got to LA. The .com bubble burst.
Oh, so then you moved from there.
Basically, I sold my home before the bank took it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And moved out here. I had friends who had moved out here who were in Hollywood.
Okay.
I went and got and spent a year locked in my apartment out here.
Yeah.
Learning. Because I didn't know how to do visual effects, so I had to teach myself.
Okay, I thought you had to learn how to speak Los Angelino.
No, I just had to learn how to do visual effects. No, my friends were coaching me on how to speak Angelino. Things like, don't wear a suit to your interview. They'll think you're trying too hard. It doesn't matter what you wear to your interview. Your demo reel is what really counts.
It's true. It's true. You overdress in Los Angeles, people think you're weird.
Yes, whereas in Boston, when I was doing flash animation and I would go for an interview at an advertising agency, if I didn't wear a suit and a tie, they would be like, he couldn't know animation at all. He doesn't have a tie on.
Yeah.
Boston's a very different place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So paper dolls.
Your paper dolls.
Paper dolls. I really got a great reputation out here in LA for having paper dolls.
That's when I first met you. I met you, guess, like 2003.
Yeah.
That's so bizarre that I've known you for that long.
Right.
That's so weird
but that's
to me.
Because unlike most black people,
Yeah.
you would go to conceptual art shows.
Yeah, well, that's what I like.
Yeah. Well, we're the only two.
Yeah.
In all of Los Angeles.
Yeah. That's why I kept seeing you. And then you would
right.
hand me a book. You're like, here, I have a book of paper dolls. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, when I was in Boston, and part of the deal with me always was that I would hand out comics to people.
Yeah.
As well as try and get them into magazines. I'd see someone, I'd hand them a comic. And I came out here, and by that time, I still wasn't doing comics anymore. But I was doing the paper dolls, and I had started doing them in Boston. I only started doing them because the magazine which I was most involved with, Don't Shoot It's Only Comics, was starting to wind down in 1996. And so they weren't handing out the themes for the magazine on a timely manner anymore. So when they finally handed it out with a month left, I'm like, I don't have time to draw a comic, but I have time to draw paper dolls.
Oh, okay.
So I just decided, I've been thinking about it a little bit, so I just decided to do it. And I did it in part also because I was teaching cartooning at art centers there as well. And it was a project. For the cartooning class. Learn how to do a paper doll. We teach you certain things like how to do a stencil, how to do things that were repeating. How to draw something that you would later cut out. So there were a lot of class things involved when I was first developing them, which were also relevant to me at the time. But I just kept doing them when I came out here I kept doing them more and more, and I started going to art shows, and people thought I was cool. I'm like, you're an artist. And I'm like, well, yeah, but not like you people who hang your stuff on the wall. And they'd be like, well, what do you do? So I started handing out comics, and then they started peer pressuring me into putting stuff on the wall. And then I did start putting stuff on the wall. And then people started thinking of me as an artist here in Los Angeles. And
well, you are an artist. I mean, you've been a fixture here for. I mean, you do a lot of like really stuff that I really like. Like, I want to talk about the hashtag Los Angeles County.
Okay. Los Angeles County is a hashtag that I have. That actually I have because I live right on the border between Los Angeles County and Orange County.
Yeah.
And especially because so much of the world views the two of them as one.
Yes.
That I just decided to do that as well. And people were going, well, where'd you take the pictures? And I don't believe in having geotagging.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to be general about it. So both, I usually do the city or the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then Los Angeles County so that people know that it's in Los Angeles or Orange County.
Does it kind of like, because Los Angeles and Orange County are kind of so different, is that why you decided to like mix those two together?
Well, as different as they may be, they're considered to be as one in so many different parts of the way we look at the world.
Yeah.
First of all, we listen to TV and radio in this town. And as far as America is concerned, Los Angeles County and Orange County are one when it comes to being a TV market or being a radio market. And those aren't the only examples of that. I mean, gee, how do you really count Disneyland as being so far away that it's in some place different? Not really.
Now it's like a drive there.
see, not really. I mean, you could take the bus there from downtown LA.
The 60. Is it the 60 or 760?
It's the 760. Yes.
Yeah. See, I know that. I know that.
See. They really are sort of integrated as much as, oh boy, except for that 760 bus and like one bus from Octa.
Yeah.
Oh, the bus lines don't cross between the two counties.
No, it doesn't. It'll stop. Like, you can't.
I know. I live in the gap zone between the two bus lines.
Oh, it must drive you crazy.
No, it's actually not too bad. I'm only about like a half-mile walk.
Yeah.
From LA buses from Metro.
Okay.
And I'm a mile and a half walk from Octa buses, because I live in Los Angeles County.
You live in Los
Angeles County. I got to walk 5 minutes to get into Orange County.
So that's
how far away I live.
that's kind of why you started doing the whole.
That's why I started doing that hashtag. Yes.
Okay, that's on Instagram, stuff like that. And now you have a thing. It's called Color Enable.
Yes, and actually, I'm really glad you brought that up today, Tika.
Why?
Today, I was just about to leave the house to start my venture out to here.
Yes.
I'm sure a few other things on the way. And the postal person came and delivered my mail. So I looked at it, and you know what I got in the mail today?
What?
I got my certificate from the United States Patent and Trademark Office saying that I now own Color Enable.
You know, I always want to steal your stuff.
My personal registered trademark.
I always want to steal your stuff. You know that.
You
So now I can't. Now it's like you're gonna have to do that.
Wait, you always you mean steal the digital image?
Oh yeah,
That's
a
so
good idea.
freaking easy. Anyone can do that.
I know,
that.
but it's your whole idea. I like your whole concept. But I mean, it's
you
color
mean of being able to color it in.
Yeah, but I want to know, does that have anything to do with race or anything like
yes,
that?
Yes, actually, that's a really great question. So, how did I get to Color Enable?
Yeah.
So, I used to be a cartoonist. I used to just draw my comics about women. And A, because I sucked, and
B,
because it was all in black and white back at that time. I didn't really think much about it. And then in 1986, I think it was, like just about the only liberated Palestinian woman in Boston, decided she was going to have a conference for all the artists and video artists and stuff of color in Greater Boston. And I went to that conference. And as I stay, and in the conference, and I'm going, race issues really should be part of my cartoon as well.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do that in a black and white zero graphic world?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can let people color in the comics. And I will just give them instructions as to how to color in the characters.
Yeah.
And that's how that started.
Okay. So it actually started from it was kind of inspired from that. So it was kind of like
Yes, it was. Before that, it was just comics.
Yeah.
And for a long time after that, it still wasn't color. It's still, as much as you could color them in, I didn't call it color inable. In fact, I didn't even call it color inable. I didn't even decide to grab that word until 2002 when I started my website. When I started my new website, because my old one from Boston was not appropriate for Los Angeles.
It wasn't appropriate. Okay.
No, my name, which I'm not going to say in case I ever want it again, because if you think color inable, COLORINABLE is a bad name.
Yeah.
My other name was much, much worse.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that color inable is a bad name, but for people who are thinking about getting a trademark or calling themselves something, you want to think about it pretty hard. My biggest issues have been things like, it's colorable, right? No,
Yeah.
it's color inable. Okay, because colorable is a word.
Yeah.
Color inable isn't really a word, but it's close enough to being a word that every once in a while someone will come up with it. It's not like if I type it into Google, I'll only find myself. I'll find a scant every once in a while. Someone will accidentally make up that word. And now, as long as if they're talking about their own self-expression, I will sue them in North America.
You will sue. That
in North America. now, not in Asia, and not in Europe, and not in South America.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. Well, actually, no one even asked me if I wanted to try with South America. I definitely didn't. I definitely did not. When lawyers were bugging me, you want to register this in Europe too? I'm like, no. And the only reason I decided to register it, to make it my registered trademark, because I've been living since 2002 with it as colorable, was because I got this email from a registrar, from a domain registrar somewhere in Asia, asking me if I had given this company permission to use this name. And I wrote them back saying no. And then I immediately called up LegalZoom and said, I'm protecting my trademark. And I started the process, and it only took about 6 months.
Oh, so that's good. So
surprised.
LegalZoom, and then you go and just kind of like, the 6 months to trademark your.
Well, LegalZoom, you go, you fill out the forms, you pay the money, you send in the stuff, and then you wait.
Yeah.
And you hope no one challenges it. And you hope no one challenges it. And you hope that there are no conflicts, which for me there weren't.
Oh,
All right.
And I have a question in regards to what inspires kind of your creativity? Is it politics?
The characters drive everything. No. Okay. If life were good, the characters would drive everything.
Yeah.
Every 3D model I made, I'd be making because the characters wanted.
Yeah.
Every photograph I took, I'd be taking because the characters wanted it. Every cartoon I made, every piece of clothing I drew, etc., would be because the characters wanted it. Unfortunately, that's not the way life is right now. Don't I wish it was? There are times I spend just getting thin.
Yeah.
Because I have dropped about 40 pounds in the last year and a half. And that was about the time that Instagram came on the scene. So I just walk and I'll stop and take a picture. And the truth is, a lot of people like the pictures I stop and take. But to me, it's a nice, pretty picture. I'm glad I took it most of the time. The calories I burnt between the last picture and that one, in some ways, to me, were more important than the picture that I took that people love so much a lot of the time.
You can't say you're ruining the whole thing now. No,
no, it's not that I don't like. It's not that I don't like my pictures.
Yeah.
But like you ask, what really is the important thing for me as an artist? It's the characters. It's the characters. If at some point someone in Hollywood would love to give me the opportunity to turn it into an animated cartoon, I'd never draw a thing again. I'll be more than willing to stand there with a whip and beat other people so that they drew it, and beat other people so that they wrote it, and I just make sure it was all right. I would love to do that.
Yeah. So that's like that's one. Is that one of your goals, or not really?
Is it a goal? I would love for it to be a goal, but being a realistic person.
Yeah.
It's not really a goal because I realize so much stuff about animated properties, like how much work it takes and how much money it takes and how much it takes if you're going to try and get it to the point where someone else will pay. Black folks watching. So if you ever watch the Boondocks,
Yeah.
those cost about $500,000 an episode to make. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's because they're cheap cartoons.
Yeah.
They're not really cheap cartoons.
Yeah.
If you watch the Boondocks, you probably know about Squidbillies.
No. Go
Go
ahead.
If you know about if you don't know about the Squidbillies, you should know about the Squidbillies because it's a document about white America. Okay.
What's it called? The
Squidbillies.
Okay.
It's on the same channel, Adult Swim, as the Boondocks. All right.
Okay.
Okay. And those cost about $125,000 a piece to make because they're half as long and then they cost half as much.
Okay.
So I mean, you'll be able to see. I mean, basically, note how the Boondocks was able to get it was that he had a strip that was well known as a daily strip for like a decade.
Yeah. He had it for a long time.
Yeah. And the truth is, I guess I could do the 10-minute story thing like they would want. Oh no, I hate writing stories. I just want my characters to react to stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was much better as that kind of a cartoonist.
Yeah.
Maybe people will get to see that again sometime in the future.
So, I mean, how do you feel that in regards, how do you feel about the Los Angeles art scene? Like, I mean, what are your thoughts on Los Angeles and the art scene here? Like, do we have one? How is it?
Okay, I guess these are the thoughts I should give on the Los Angeles art scene. First of all, the Los Angeles art scene is really great.
Yeah.
It's really great. It was second only to New York in this country. When I was playing along a lot, when I met you, upstate through about 2010 through 2011.
Yes.
Oh boy, the recession really has hurt things, but LA is really coming back strong right now. It's just starting to in the art world, and the truth is, it might not be as big as New York, but it's just about to be almost as vibrant, if not as vibrant. And it's getting to the point now where people will actually buy art in LA, and I'm talking about that at the very high level. It used to be because gallery owners would say this to me all the time. I have people who come in here, they look at the artwork, then they fly to New York, see the same artwork, buy it in New York, and have it shipped back out here. That seems to be becoming less of the case now than it was, say, in 2008, 2007. Let's hope so. I mean, truthfully, at this point, there's a lot of people in LA who are affluent enough to afford art, who have enough taste and intelligence to afford art, who are involved in the arts and should be putting money back into the arts.
Yes.
And I'm talking mostly about people in the entertainment industry.
Yes, we have a lot. I mean, you would think.
I mean, you'd be surprised how many really do, but I gotta tell you, most of them don't look a lot like either of us.
Yeah.
Most people look like us who have money in the entertainment industry don't tend to spend it on paintings.
Yes.
They spend it on other stuff.
Well, I guess I wonder how if that can be changed. If we can, I mean, we keep asking this question on the show so many times. Like, why can't we get the affluent African American community to patronize the arts in Los Angeles? And I mean, I don't know what the answer is to that. Maybe we throw a really good party.
Well, that would be part of it, and maybe that is part of it. I mean, we both hang out with a bunch of black artists.
Yes.
And I've hung out with a few other different bunches of artists in Los Angeles, and there is one big difference between the black artist and the other artist, and it is the black artists tend to be much, much less drunken.
Oh, they don't drink at all.
I know.
They're very sedate.
know.
We're very sedate crew.
I know, and the thing about it is that alcohol opens purse strings.
It does.
It really does, and I am amazed at just how absolutely raucously drunk so many of the good, fine, mainstream parts of Los Angeles art are. And that's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not a bad thing.
Fun is
but
not
it's-
bad.
Yes, and fun is not bad.
I mean, I think that's when I was.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Black people don't think art is fun.
Well, when the people that we hang out with, and everybody is great. I just think that sometimes it's very. Well, I was telling one of my friends about how we in general middle class Black people, we don't really drink or smoke or party or anything like that, and it's so weird. But it's like, what? That sounds crazy. I'm like, no, it's not crazy. I understand that you have this stereotype in your head about what's going on when Black people all hang out with each other, like we're all like just trying to kill each other or something. I don't know what you think, but I mean, that to me is not very shocking. I mean, I have a community newspaper, and I realized very quickly that I had to change my personality and be a lot more clean cut. I couldn't go outside smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer outside the city council meeting. That's not going to work. And that's not, everybody's very serious.
Right, but that's us. I'm amazed at how we've been talking a lot with a lot of Black artists about wanting to be in the museum. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed at how many artists I know in Los Angeles who are in the museum in one way or another, who they got there via the bar. They had to have gotten there via the bar because that's the only way they got anywhere was via the bar. And I don't mean the lawyer passing the bar. I mean the taking a drink at the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And part of it is that it's not fun. Mm-hmm. A lot of Black people don't think it's fun. Then again, I don't quite know how old you are, and I know a lot of the people
I'm 25.
Okay. Okay, I know a lot of the people who we hang out with are approximately somewhere between the age of Barack Obama and Sarah Palin. Okay, so in other words, we're talking about somewhere
You're
above
gonna
45.
you're gonna get us both in trouble. That's what you're doing right now.
What? But I said above 45, and I will tell you one thing which I have noticed about Black people in Los Angeles under 40 is that they are different about being artists and about enjoying art.
Okay.
They are much more likely to go to a rave. They are much more likely to show up at a gallery. The artists are they're much more likely as Black artists to want to play along with the mainstream.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, in other words, not play along with the Black mainstream of art and go to Leimert Park and do the things there. But I mean like the lowbrow mainstream. I mean like the museum mainstream. They're still young. They're still, a lot of them still aren't quite or are just getting to the point where they're museum ready. Mm-hmm. Where they are high or end collector ready. Because they're still only approaching 40. Mm-hmm. But it's a very different generation and a very different group than the age that I'm in, which is the Barack Obama age, where there aren't many Black people participating in mainstream, and where there aren't many Black people who are just turning out to the gallery to look at art or go to an art rave to look at art for fun. Or to go to the museum that has a rave, which museums in Los Angeles have raves. I'm from Boston, where there's always a four-piece quartet going do, 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 in the background. No, they have real raves here, at museums.
Well, I think too that it's almost like it's about privilege. I think a lot of people grew up and their parents experienced the civil rights movement, and maybe from the South or somewhere like that. And so when they what they put into their children's heads is, succeed, behave, be quiet. It's going to work out for you. And I think a lot of those people, when they had kids, they were just like, you know what? Just do what you need to do. So of course, you have those different groups of people who are raised with that different mindset. And I think that's kind of one of those weird. Like I always feel like I'm kind of like in the gap. I'm in that weird gap. I'm not quite young. I'm not quite old. I'm like right in that gap.
Too.
Yeah, that weird.
Yeah, I think you're younger than Sarah Palin.
A little bit younger than Sarah Palin.
What?
Yeah, just a little bit. But that's going to be about it for the Blk Grrrl Show with Stephen J. Brooks. Thank you so much. Have a happy New Year. I hope you make it there. I'm planning on making it there. I hope Steven
Oh, I'm
going to
make it there. I'm going to make it there at this point.
We will be back on January 3rd. We're going to have Chi-Wan Choi, who will be our first guest for 2015. Thank you, Richard Carr. Oh, and there's also a book fair that's going on in March. January 2nd is the deadline if you want to be an exhibitor. And you can contact me, Blk Grrrl, BLK GRRRL show.
That's
at
3
Gmail.
R's.
Yeah, at Gmail. You know, I can't even say that. You guys can see it. I'll just put it on the screen. All right, just email me if you want to be part of that show. And it's going to be great. We got a lot of cool people who are going to be part of it. So have a great rest of the year.
My great-grandpa was a blues lover, but he be rocking his moonshine. The baby king and Jimmy Ray rock on that. And that's why they say I'm different. And that's why they say I'm strange. I'm talking about Big Mama Funk. Talk about it, talk about it. I'm talking about Lightning Hopkins. Talk about it, talk about it. I'm talking about Howlin' Wolf. Talk about it, talk about it. I'm talking about Albert King. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry. When I was sweet 16. And that's why they say I'm different. And that's why you think I'm strange. I'm talking about T-Bone Walker. Talk about it, talk about it. I'm talking about Muddy Waters. Talk about it, talk about it. I'm talking about Lead Belly, Sonny Terry, Brownie Boogie, Son Austin, Freddie King. That's a smear. That's a smear. Oh, hey. Oh, diddly, have you heard that?
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.